If I could get everyone's attention here. You guys, I want to thank you so much for coming out tonight. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, and you came out for my campaign kickoff. I'm running with the Brockton City Council for Ward 6. And before I get into talking about why I'm running.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hi. This is, it's very exciting for me to be able to introduce you to Jamal Brathwaite. He is a very smart, highly educated person who cares about the people of Brockton. He doesn't have any kind of political agenda except for to do things to make things right in Brockton. He is transparent. He has accountability. He is a financial manager. He is a risk manager. He has auditing skills. He knows how to make things right and to get things done and to fix the problems that our current city representatives have brought us into. I mean, let's look at it. Let's look at everybody who's been on this council for the past, I can't count how many years, and we see the same problems every year with no solution, no resolution, no accountability. We get ignored. We get ignored. We have a candidate here who is highly educated, who is not politically motivated. He's here to help and to do good for the people, not just of the city of Ward, in the Ward 6, but for all the people in the city. And I think that when you get to know him and get to know his qualifications and judge what his abilities are compared to what we have had over the past 10 years, you will see a significant difference in the quality of an educated person versus somebody who's gotten in because he's got a popular last name. So I say we end that and we start fresh with an educated person who knows what he's doing, who doesn't owe anyone a favor, who will do good for the people of Ward 6 and the city of Brockton. Again, not for any kind of self-motivation whatsoever. So let me introduce Jamal Brathwaite for Ward 6 City Council.
Thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate that invitation. That introduction.
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, and I thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you.
So just as way of introduction, I just want to say, yes, my name is Jamal Brathwaite. I wasn't born in Brockton, but I want to let everyone know that I love Brockton. And I love Brockton so much that this isn't my first time running for office in Brockton. This is actually my third time running for office in Brockton. So I'm really pushing for positive change. And the question is, well, what does positive change look like? Well, for the past 2 years, the main topic that I've heard discussed in Brockton is the fact that we have so many deficits. And what was a really challenging part of this period for me is watching our elected officials go through the process of having meetings, but not understanding how to describe our financial condition. Today, Wednesday, April 30th at 6 p.m., the Brockton City Accounts Committee meeting is meeting. And the person who currently has this seat for Ward 6 is the chairman of the City Accounts Committee in Brockton. And what I expect him to talk about today is, why does the city have a new deficit of $3.7 million related to the CARES Act? What internal controls failed and should have been performing to flag that before we went into overspending? Why is it that this deficit wasn't identified by anybody in the city and city government, but it was actually identified by the Division of Local Services? Why is it that in March of 2025, the most senior city councilor, Wintha Farwell, cited that there was a lack of payroll controls that existed over the Brockton Redevelopment Authority that potentially led to payroll fraud? Well, if you know anything about Brockton, well, guess who processes payroll in Brockton? The city auditor's office. And so the reason why I say all this is that I feel like in Brockton, our main underlying issue going on is that we don't have elected officials that understand the financial data at the level that they should, one. Two is that in 1 month, the city of Brockton is going to have their new budget approval process for the year. That budget will be available by June 1st. And if you take a look at that budget, for example, the DPW's total budget is about $8.5 million for the year. That's how much they spend. But the city collects $15 million in excess tax from taxing your vehicles. So what happens to the other $6.5 million? I would think that that would go into improving our roads, but it's not. It's going to other areas of the budget. And when you look at the city budget book, there's not enough detail to really understand how the money is being spent. So as a city councilor, I'm going to focus on improving the transparency of how the money is being reported, one. Two, making sure that we identify what internal control activities should exist to prevent future deficits, and also to make sure that if we do overspend, we have in-house employees that are identifying it. Not the Department of Revenue, not the federal government conducting a review over the Brockton Redevelopment Authority. We should be the first point of contact to identify those errors because we're the ones spending the money. So the very first thing I'm going to do is work on improving city financial management, number one. Number two, we need to improve our roadways in Brockton. There's a law called the U.S. Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act that brought $8 billion to Massachusetts. And it's the responsibility of the city of Brockton to apply for monies through the Massachusetts Department of Transportation for all our infrastructure projects. Now, in the past 5 years, the city of Brockton has never passed a resolution to talk about, well, how much money did Brockton receive? What projects were prioritized with the U.S. Infrastructure Act? And the U.S. Infrastructure Act, I want to highlight, this was passed underneath Joe Biden. And this was $1 trillion given to America to modernize our infrastructure. But I don't see enough modernity taking place in Brockton when it comes to our roadways. And so that's another reason why I'm running for City Council for Ward 6. We need a city-wide plan of a citywide pavement management plan that lists every single street in Brockton. In Ward 6, we have 198 streets. Each one of those roads should have a rating to determine what is based on their condition. That way you as a resident can look at that plan and identify where does your road sit in terms of priority for pavement, for when it'll be repaved. Roads like Pratt Street, roads like Maplewood Circle, roads like Lynn Road that have been completely neglected. I am not going to neglect these roads. I'm going to fight that. We have a citywide plan to improve all our roadways. It should be very clear how much money is needed, within 10% range, is needed to improve all our roadways so that when people come to Brockton, their first impression is that, wow, Brockton's got some great roadways. As a matter of fact, those roadways are so great, I think I want to buy a business on Main Street so my customers can experience this kind of first impression of Brockton. And that's what I'm fighting for. A better Brockton with better roads, better schools, better public safety so children feel safer when they're going to and from school, and the children feel safer when they're in school. And lastly, and very importantly, I want to promote and clean up our green spaces so that children do not find needles or syringes in our green spaces. I don't want them finding syringes on the sidewalks. I want all that cleaned up. And one thing I want to highlight with our green spaces is that here in Ward 6, we currently have an environmental disaster taking place. About, 5 years ago, in April 2020, the City Council unanimously approved a measure to sell 22 acres of land to a developer so he could build a sports complex. And in that agreement, called the Land Disposition Agreement, the developer had 5 years to build that sports complex. But you know what? He never built the sports complex. The big picture is this. Sorry, that's my ringtone. So what it is that 22 acres was sold so that you guys would have a beautiful sports complex. The sports complex was never built. And if you look further at the surrounding land, you'll see there's 4 parcels that are zoned for a sports complex. And that equates to about 34 acres of land. But what you see most visible is you see a rock crushing, grinding activity taking place that does not conform with the activities of the sports complex. So I'm going to be fighting for the city of Brockton to acquire all 34 acres of land and to turn that space into green space, a beautiful park that would abut the Brookfield Elementary School and would be a major resource for the children here in Brockton. And so you'll hear more of that to come. There's a petition that's under draft. It's currently under legal review. But we're going to need everybody on board. If you want a beautiful Brockton, if you want a better Brockton, we're going to need everybody on board, because right now the status quo isn't sufficient. It's not sufficient for taxpayers. I think that you're getting ripped off. One last thing I want to highlight, though, is a lot of you might say, where are all my taxes going? Well, let me explain where your taxes are going. They're not going to better roads. They're not going to better schools. They're not going for better water pipes. What they're going to finance is what's called an unfunded pension liability that was accrued by the Brockton Retirement Board, where in 2021 they came before the City Council and asked for $365 million because they happen to be one of the lowest performing municipal pension fund managers in all of Massachusetts. And because they've had such poor performance, they've accrued this unfunded pension liability, which now is costing you, the taxpayer. So the number one driver for why your taxes have been going up since 2021 till present day isn't because of the roads, it's because of that unfunded pension liability. And here's the real risk scenario. What are you going to do the next time the Brockton Retirement Board comes back before the City Council and asks for more money because of poor performance? Well, we know the existing City Council, they're not going to ask any questions. They're just going to approve it because that's what they did the last time. Not me. I'm going to cross-examine the Brockton Retirement Board and make sure that we hire at least an auditor, a subject matter expert, to really understand what is the right amount of money that is needed for the Brockton Retirement Board in order to meet their liabilities. So that's about it in a nutshell. My name is Jamal Brathwaite. I need everyone's help and support on this, and thank you. And one last thing, Angela, by the way, I want to introduce, this is my wife, Angela.
Hi.
And Angela. Yeah, so you guys, we have many volunteer opportunities, okay? So we got volunteer.
And also to
ahead.
knock on doors.
And to sign his nomination sheet.
Yeah, and
If you haven't already
nomination
done
sheet
so.
if you leave in a ward.
Yeah, well, yes, if you
Thank you.
That's right. So we got volunteer opportunities to knock on doors,
So
make phone
you can
calls.
use the flyers. That's the QR code. So yeah, you can have access through your phone. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Angela. Put your hands together for Angela. All right, cool. Cool. And on that note, I just want to say enjoy yourselves, and thank you for coming. And please make sure you sign in. So,
Thank you, Jamal.
thank you. What's that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, hey, you guys, I just want to open it up a little bit. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask me, you can ask me directly. If you want to open it up in the forum and have any, discussion, let me know, and we can do that. All right, we got a question in the back.
I just think that Angela should run for office.
All right, there you go. We got a great idea. Yeah. Gary says that Angela should be running for public office. And Richard, if I can I agree. Imagine if Angela ran for public office. I mean, would you like that? All right. Cool. All right, that's all.